learning how to create and solve inequalities. And the essential question we're asking is, how do you write and solve an inequality that represents a real world situation? So an inequality is just kind of something that allows us to express something that's not exact. So when we're solving it, it's truly equal to that. But in an inequality, it could be that, or it could be less than that, or it could be more than that. And so that's what we're going to be working with today. So first, we got a bunch of symbols. We got to figure out what they mean. So this symbol right here, the first one that we have, if we're dealing with this one, this just means that it's less than, strictly less than, actually. So we'll use the right tool. Which means it cannot equal whatever number we're looking at. So strictly less than. And when it has the line underneath that, it means that we're looking at less than or equal to, which means it could be that number. So like, let's say 3 is less than or equal to 4. It could be less than 4, but it could also equal 4. Obviously not 3, but any number we choose could equal to 4. And then opposite way, this is strictly greater than, which means it cannot equal the smallest number. And this is greater than or equal to. So whenever, the key is that whenever there's a line underneath it, that means it's going to be equal to, greater than or equal to. Finally, the last one, this is the equal sign with a line through it, which means it does not equal. So if you see this, it means that it does not equal or cannot equal. All right, so now that we know these things, just a kind of a key to help you remember, the alligator eats the bigger number. So see how this kind of looks like an alligator mouth? The alligator, or the mouth of the alligator, is going to be pointed towards the larger number. So like 10 is bigger than 4. So 10 would be on that other side. Okay, well, Julia, I'm in my video right now, so I need you to chill. Okay, we'll play with it in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start solving an inequality. So when we go to solve an inequality, we're going to treat it just like a regular equation, but pay attention to the inequality symbol. So it's all the exact same steps. It's just our symbol that's separating the two equations are going to be different. So in this equation, I have 12 times x plus 2.75 is less than or equal to 99. So to solve this equation, I'm going to use the distributive property. So I'm going to start by multiplying the 12 to each number inside the parentheses. So the math rainbows. So I'm going to multiply 12 to x and 12 to 2.75. And I'll write this out for you because I'm helping you guys out with your math. Some of us are still kind of struggling with this. So we get 12 times x plus 12 times 2.75. And then, actually, you know what, I should have done the other, sorry. I should have used the other tool. So 12 times x plus 12 times 2.75. And then we got to use our inequality, which is this guy is less than or equal to 99. Okay, got that. Now we actually have to simplify. Well, 12 times x is just 12x. We're going to use a different color. So now I have 12x, and 12 times 2.75, this real quick, is a number, it's 33. So it'll be plus 33, using that inequality again, 99. Now I got a two-step equation that I can solve. So see, it was just that extra step of doing that multiplying. Now we've got the multiplying done, we can start solving. So we're going to subtract 33 from both sides to solve for x. So then when I subtract 33, I'm going to end up with 12x is less than or equal to 66. And remember to keep that symbol. No, not even there. All right, and then we're getting ready for our last step. So our last step, see if I move these a little bit closer so I have room. Our last step is to divide. And so when I divide by 12, I'm not going to get a very pretty number. And then I'll just say, put 12 there. I know you can't see it. I'm trying to fix it. Oh, no, don't do that. All right, we'll just put it there. So if we're dividing by 12, then what we're going to end up with is x, whatever 66 divided by 12 is. Oops. So let's figure that out, which is going to give us 5.5. So x is going to be less than or equal to 5.5. So you see we just did the exact same steps for solving a regular problem, like a regular equation. It's just our answer is in a different, it's got a different symbol and be separating it. Just circle that. That's our answer. It's in the great circle. Okay. So next one, I wanted us to do one with a fraction because you guys see fractions and it's difficult. And so the examples I chose today are going to be harder than most of the problems that you're going to deal with in your homework, but it's just to kind of prepare you for that and be ready for that. You counting for me? All right, so first thing I'm going to do actually is rewrite this equation so it looks, so you can see it in its true form, like as a fraction. So it's 4 over 3, parentheses, 6x plus 9, and that's less than 4, so strictly less than 4. Okay, so just like the last problem, what we're going to do first, sorry, going back, I didn't pull this out of anywhere. This is the exact same thing as this. It's just written actually as an equation. So first thing we're going to do is multiply the 4/3 into everything. Okay, and so that's going to look a little bit tricky, but we're going to do the math rainbows just like what we did last time. So multiplying 4/3 to 6, 4/3 to 9. It's just this time when I multiply it in, I'm going to get something like here. I'm going to get 4. So what we do is we multiply 4 to the coefficient and the term. So it's going to be 4 times 6 to the whole number over, So 4 times 6 over 3 x plus 4 times 9 over 3. So you see, all I did is I took that 4/3 and I multiplied the 4 to the 6 and the 4 to the 9 and put it over 3. So this is how you're going to do it. So make sure you're really paying attention to that. When you're solving these type of problems, it's going to be really useful to look back at your notes because it's the same steps. Okay. All right, so now that I've multiplied 4/3 to everything, what I'm going to do is going to multiply the numerator, so the top part of the fraction. So when I do that, I'm going to have 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24 over 3x plus 4 times 9 is 36 over 3. And that's less than 4. Okay. So still doing pretty good. I still have fractions, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify these because remember, fractions are division. So 24 divided by 3 is actually a number. It's 8. So then I'm going to get 8x plus 36 divided by 3 is 12. So 8x is less than, x plus 12 is less than 4. So now I have an equation that I'm used to solving. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this And I'm going to rewrite it over here where I have more room, and I'm actually going to solve that equation. So 8x plus 12 is less than 4, same equation. Let's draw an arrow so you guys know where it went. All right, and then on this equation, I'm just going to solve it as usual. The first step obviously would be to subtract. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. Subtract 12. Subtract 12. All right, when I do that, the 12s are going to cancel. And I'm going to have 8x is less than 4 minus 12, which is negative 8. Now I'm going to divide by 8. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. And when I do this, I'm going to get that x is less than negative 1 because negative 8 divided by 8. It's not going to cancel entirely. It's just going to become negative 1. So x is less than negative 1. And then that's going to be our answer. So as you can see, it's still the same steps that we did last time. It's just, again, still that different symbol in the middle. All right, so then finally, we of course have a word problem, because what notes assignment would be complete without a word problem? So in this one, the news guard charges a fee of $650 plus $80 per week to run an ad. While the News Times just charges $146 per week. For how many weeks must an ad run for the total cost of a news guard to be less expensive than the cost at the News Times? So remember last time we took notes, we wrote an equation for both companies and we would set it equal to each other. We're going to use that same strategy, but the key here is less expensive, which means that it's going to not be the same cost. It's going to be strictly less than, which means the symbol that we're going to use to separate them is going to be different. So let's just start by going through highlighting our important information. So I'm going to start with the News Guard because that's one company that we're comparing. And it has a fee of $650 plus $80 per week. Okay, so that's all the important information for the News Guard. Next, I'm going to look at the News Times, which just charges $146 per week. They don't have a starting fee. And then I want to find out the total cost of the News Guard to be less expensive. Oops. Now I know the difference, the definition of the New Times. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to write our equations and then separate them with an inequality. So let's start with the News Guard. The News Guard we'll do in green. So the News Guard has a fee of $650, so that's one time, plus 80 per week. And it tells us to use W for weeks. So 80 W. All right, so 650 plus 80 per week. That checks out. All right, next let's look at the News Times. So the News Times is a little bit different because the News Times only charges $146 per week. It's not $146 fee. It's $146 per week. So then now what I need to do is find out when the News Guard is less than the News Times. So this is where I'm going to use that inequality. So I'm going to use the same strategy as last time, remember, but this time I'm going to set them equal to each other. So I'm going to have the News Guard, which is 650 EDW. But I remember I want to know when it is less expensive. It's when the News Guard is less. So looking at my symbols, I'm going to go with this symbol because this says that the News Guard, which is represented by this equation, is going to be less than 146W. If I wanted to know when it was more than that, I would just change the direction of the inequality. Okay. So now that I have my equation, this is something I can solve. So just like last time, I need to get my variables on the same side because I got variables on both sides. So I'm going to start by subtracting 80W from both sides. Just a side note, the reason why we didn't choose the less than or equal to sign is because we just want to know when it's less expensive, not when they are the same. So just kind of going back on that. All right. So when I subtract the 80W, I'm going to have 650 is less than 146 minus 80 is 66. So 66W. All right, and then finally I got to divide by 66. On both sides, of course. I'll just put it all over 66 because I'm lazy and I don't want to write everything. Dividing everything by 66, it's going to cancel on the right. So 650 divided by 66 is going to give me, I'll borrow this really quick, Jules. We're sharing a phone right now. Oops. It's going to get me 9.84 or 9.85. We'll round it up. So 9.85 is less than W. So what that tells me is that the ad is going to run for if the ad runs for 9 weeks, after 9 weeks, actually, it's going to become less expensive than the News Times. So that's our answer. So even though it says 9.85 is less than W, to put this back into the context of the equation, we asked when it would be less expensive, and you can look right away. Week 1, NewsGuard is going to be more expensive because 650 plus 80 is definitely a lot more than 146. But after 9 weeks, the NewsGuard is going to become less expensive. So again, when you're buying things and you're looking at like getting subscriptions, it's an inequality would be useful for you to kind of reference just to see, like if you, like for example, a gym membership, if you're planning on having it for more than a year, then maybe it is better to go with the one that has the bigger fee but costs less per month. So it just allows you to compare. So after 9 weeks, the NewsGuard will be less expensive. Ooh, that type's over. All right, so that's what the 9.85W told us. And that is how we solve those type of problems. All right, have fun. If you have any questions, please write them on the side and we'll address them in class next week.